Good morning, my peoples. There's the dilemma. Do you want to know what it is? I will tell you. The dilemma. What is going on? Poor lighting. That's what's going on. There's the new sock. Do you see the dilemma? Here, I'll hold it up. Do you see the dilemma? It's gorgeous. Do you see it? I'll give you a hint. That right there is a knot. That's not cool. It's right there. I've knitted this much. Not a big deal to knit this much. Big deal, the knot. So, you can do one of two things. Well, you can do two things. You can, well, I guess you can do three things. I wouldn't do the third thing. The third thing would be just to keep knitting. Just ignore it and keep knitting. But this is not a very tight join. And it's the ends. I mean, yeah. When you're knitting and you get a knot, you want long ends so you can weave them into your finished. So what I would do is either, one, untie this knot so that I had longer ends, or I would untie it or cut it out. Same thing. Or I would just cut it off and save this yarn and just start again knitting my sock. Because this is like half an inch. Half an inch of knitting. Not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. But then you also don't know if they kept the colors. Sometimes when you get a knot, they don't keep, because there's a sequence of colors. Sometimes the knot is not in the sequence of colors. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to break my yarn, and I'm going to take my project off my needles. Now I do have another confession. I'm cheating on my sock. Because the other ones are not done. They're off the needle. But I put them on double points. Okay, so that's that. That's going to the side. Then I'm going to recast on. Find the end. Oh, and I had a huge amount of yarn barf. Yarn barf is when you start your skein from the center and you're trying to find the end. Sometimes you're really good at it, and sometimes not so much. And you get this big wad of yarn that out of your skein. It's a yarn barf. Yarn barf. Tanner is pillaging my wallet for change. He's got his bank out, and he is looking for money. He's already hit Daddy up twice for money. You found the house key? Okay, put it back in there. I keep my house key in the wallet. Shh, don't tell anybody. I think he hasn't. Oh, well. Oh, well. Somebody's always home. So I'm just casting on. And we're going to cast on 60. And we're going to knit our socks. I'm not changing needles because this is still pretty thick sock yarn. It's weird how it can be different thicknesses of the same classification. But I guess it's the same with anything, right? Different jeans have different sizes, and different yarn companies have different standards. So that's that. What else? Oh, there was a question in the comments, and instead of answering it in the comments, I am going to make a video. Because that's what they asked me to do. I could look it up. Who was it? I just read it this morning. My mind is gone. Don't have kids, because then you can't think. You can't remember anything. Nothing. Except cooking recipes. I remember those. Probably because if I didn't, we'd die. Okay, so how did I get started crafting or being so crafty? I always liked arts and crafts as a kid, and I think every kid does. When I was 8-ish, I don't know, it was just one of those days I was having problems sitting still or something. And my mom's like, "Here, I'll teach you how to knit." So it's always been my go-to, like, relaxation slash calm down slash. Oh no, we didn't want that to happen. It's it's what I do to kind of chill. And so I was knitting when I was 8, and then in college, there's all these crocheted items that I didn't know how to make, so I taught myself to crochet in college, and I already knew how to what cross stitch. I knew how to cross stitch. By that point, and crochet, and then when did I? Oh, how did I get into to spinning? Was I was knitting, and I was not buying the most expensive yarns, but I found like 3 or 4 knots in one skein, and I was like, this, it can't be that hard to spin yarn without knots, you know, was my thought process. So I started looking into that, and I bought my first wheel off the internet, not knowing anything about anything. And that's how I started spinning. I taught myself to spin. Um, then, right around the same time, I got interested in tatting. No, I guess it wasn't the same time. After that, I got interested in tatting and lace making. And I taught myself how to tat. Oh, excuse me. The only place I could find shuttles was online on eBay or something, and I got a bunch of shuttles, and I started to learn how to tat. And then after that, after I learned how to spinning, then I found the spinning guild. And then after I learned how to tat, I found the tatting guild. And then some of those ladies were also in the bobbin lace. I guess it's not the bobbin lace meeting, it's a lace meeting. All forms of lace welcome, but they really focus on bobbin lace. So I found them, and then I started bobbin lacing. And quilting, I knew how to sew at a young age. I learned how to sew before I learned how to knit. There was those fabric covered scrunchie things that I made a ton of. I thought I was so cool. Go to the fabric store and be like, "Can I have an eighth of a yard?" And an eighth of a yard, if you fold it in half, it's the perfect width or whatever for a scrunchie. So that was sewing. And home ec, I learned 6th grade. In home ec, I made a pair of shorts, so that was more sewing. And the quilting was just recently. The quilting was after. So I made all these quilt tops before I had kids. Whoa, it's fantastic what I got going on here. I made all these quilt tops. I made like 5 quilt tops. I started 3 more, so I have 8 quilt tops started or in progress. And it's only recently that I attempted to quilt them. The blue quilt was the first one I attempted to quilt. And I was successful, and then I found the quilting guild here in my hometown, and I got a quilt frame, so I've been doing those. That's the whole story of my craftingness.